It's Tuesday. That means I'm going to spoil our podcast episode from yesterday. If you have not listened, then you need to go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast and check out the Book Retrospective podcast. Anyways, spoilers. So this week we covered What the Woods Took by Courtney. I still have not looked up how to pronounce her last name. Gold, Courtney. In this book is one of my no-nos because I don't do the wilderness and the outdoors. So essentially, we have a group of 5 teenagers who have all been sent by their parents and guardians to wilderness therapy. They are with these 2 counselors, one male, one female, one mental, one like physical, who are going to lead them through the woods for 50 days in the summer to work on their attitudes and their behaviors. We have Devin, who is our main female character, and Ollie, who's the main male character. And then there are 3 other teenagers, Hannah, Sheridan, and Aiden. So they go into the woods, and Sheridan is like that kid who like just will not like participate. And so like she's holding them behind, and Devin immediately hates her because she's like almost lets one of the other kids drown. Like she just is a nuisance. They're literally like sleeping. They don't even have tents. They're sleeping on a tarp with a sleeping bag. That is it. And they wake up like a weekend and the counselors are gone. And things started getting real weird. They split up. Sheridan and Devin go one way because they think they might be able to find this cabin. And the rest of the group, Ollie, Aiden, and Hannah stay on the trail because they know at the end of the trail that they should be able to get out because they're supposed to get picked up there. But they all start seeing these things that they start to refer to as mimics, and they are humanoid-like creatures, except for that their head is like a long noodle and it just hangs to the side. I don't know. And it basically can turn into like anything from your memories. So it starts like presenting as like different people depending on the person. And they're basically like trapped. They end up being in the woods, I think like 36 days or something like that. Devin ends up turning 18 while they're there. They all have like kind of hard backstories. Hannah, like she actually is like the least innocent of them all. She just like snuck out, went to a party, got drunk, and crashed her car, didn't injure anyone. And like that's the only time she's ever been in trouble. And her dad sends her out there and does not communicate with her, while the other kids have communication with their families because they write them letters, except for Devin because she's a foster child and always has been. Devin is like working through emotions, which is because she was assaulted by a previous foster and no one knows it. And so she acts out. Sheridan was a twin, and her twin committed unaliving. And so she like started using drugs and stuff after that. Aiden was taking his mom's Adderall and like had a seizure in school, and so he really didn't need to go there either. And he's also the youngest. He's like 14 and the rest of them are like 16, 17, 18. And then Ollie, his grandmother was dying on hospice and he was stealing her pain medicines to move out because his dad's terrible and his dad thought he was using. So anyway, so they're all dealing with that and they present as different people. Devin's presents as like her assaulter. Ollie sees his dad. Sheridan sees her sister, so on and so forth. And so they like end up splitting up a few times, and what ends up happening is one of the counselors, Liv, shows back up, but it's not really her. It's one of the monsters because they basically can eat you and become you, and all these other mimics want to eat them and become them so that they can leave the woods and pretend to be them. And Ollie and Hannah start getting real close, and then Ollie realizes this isn't Hannah, and we find out that Hannah like dies really early on because you basically have to give yourself over, and she was just so distraught about her dad doing that she just gave herself over to the monster and agreed. And so he's like disgusted, like, oh my gosh, this isn't even Hannah. But then Hannah tries to save them from like the other mimics and ends up dying because the way to kill them is that they burn. They like are like paper. They just catch on fire. And then Devin ends up getting kidnapped by the one that wants her and ends up finding Ethan, the other counselor's body, because he refused to like give himself up, and he basically just like withered away. And she like is able to like fight him off, and they realize that when they came into the woods they crossed over this like river, and that is like the boundary, so they have to get back out. Also throughout this whole time, Sheridan finds a journal of a man from like the 70s who basically never got out, and the cabin that they thought was in the woods that ended up being burnt down is because he like unalived himself and his mimic in there. Sheridan and Devin also like become an item, and like Devin says that Sheridan replaced what the Woods took from her, and they like get back together. And everyone else, the rest of the group, make it out. So Sheridan, Devin, Ollie, and Aiden. They all end up making it out. And it's like all in the news, but they don't like really say what it was. They like just basically say it was a mishandled like therapy group that wasn't like authorized. And Devin and Ollie end up moving in together. And at the end of the book, Sheridan is moving in with them because she just turned 18. And then Aiden goes back home to like be with his family because they still love him, I guess. So yeah, traumatizing. I kind of got lost in the woods like once when I was a kid with my friend, and I panicked for like 30 seconds. So like I absolutely would never be able to participate in this. I would just die from fear. And then adding monsters on top of that, yeah, no, I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it. But if you want to hear about this in more detail, then you definitely can go over to the podcast again and check it out. And I will be back next week with another spoiler review.